All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnerships Lunch and Learn Conservation Webinar Series. We're very excited to welcome Aubert Michaud today to share with us about reducing phosphorus emissions from agriculture in the Canadian Missisquoi watershed to Lake Champlain. He is with the Missisquoi Bay Watershed Organization. Is 2 years retired after 25 years of work with the Research and Development Institute for Agri-Environment and is an adjunct professor with Laval University in water engineering. And so I'm Allie Lewis, coordinator with the partnership. I wanted to give a brief refresher on our partnership. See if we can get it to go here. So as a reminder, we have 9 organizations that are working together formally in this Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership. That includes state, federal, and nonprofit partners. Of course, we work with many others beyond just those 9. But we have a vision that Vermont will be populated by farms that are vibrant, robust, and sustainable, and that they steward their land to improve water quality as well as wildlife habitat for the benefit of farms, connected ecosystems, the public, and general good of Vermont. And our purpose and mission is that we will work together to improve agricultural water quality by coordinating partner efforts to provide education, technical, and financial assistance to the farming community, and that we have 3 overarching goals as we strive to do that. The first is that we seek to improve water quality and wildlife habitat on all engaged farmland owner and operators' properties. We seek to deliver technical and financial assistance in a way that's efficient and effective, and in doing so, provide the best service experience possible for the landowner. So with that, I'll stop sharing, and I will be keeping an eye on the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to pop them in as we go along. There'll also be some time at the end for questions and discussion, and I will be putting a little end of session survey in. So before you go, please make sure to do that. And with that, thank you, Aubert. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Ellie. Well, good day, everybody. It's always a pleasure to discuss water issues. Actually, we share the same watershed, the same lake. So why not sharing good ideas on ways to preserve them? And there's nothing more contagious, I believe, than good ideas. So okay. So you see my slides now, yes?
Not yet.
Okay. Just a minute. Okay, you want to sing along while we'll do this? I'm sorry.
Take your time, it's okay.
Okay, that should do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing my notes though. Gosh. Let me see. Okay, that's it. Okay, so I'm very pleased to share with you some lesson learned from on-farm and micro watershed research within the Missisquoi Bay watershed. Research mostly dedicated to phosphorus emissions. So just to start with a few words on the my organization, the Organisme de Bassin Versant des Missisquoi. Actually, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. The organization brings together representatives from municipal, agricultural community, tourism, and economic centers, as well as representative of citizens. Under the Water Act of the Government of Quebec, the Watershed organization mandate is to coordinate, develop, and update water resource planning at watershed scale. So the issues we are currently looking at, which have been prioritized by our stakeholders, include the surface water degradation issues, cyanobacteria blooms, sedimentation, sufficient water supply, and also degradation of natural environments, including wetlands and presence of invasive alien species. Should be moving. Okay. Seeing the presentation outline now? I'm sorry.
Not seeing a change yet, Aubert.
It's changing on my okay, how about that? Let's see.
Not
Okay,
yet,
got it?
but there it goes.
Okay,
Got it
good.
now.
I'm sorry about this. Okay,
Sometimes there's a delay.
okay, presentation outline. So I'll be okay, sorry. No, it's didn't change. Okay, presentation outline. So here's the plan for today. First, I'd like to offer you an overview of on-farm and on-stream research over, well, I would say the past 10 years or so. So basically, when be looking at how much, where, and how phosphorus is transferred to our watersheds. And of course, those research inspired the planning of the action plan on phosphorus reduction to Missisquoi Bay, which has been proposed by the OBVBM, the Watershed organization, to meet a phosphorus target loading to the Missisquoi Bay. So that's going to be the second part of the discussion. Feel free if you have some question. I mean, to maybe raise your hand, and Ali, I guess we can get along with to take some questions on the go. I'm comfortable with this. So just a quick refresh. Unfortunately, our Missisquoi Bay is the most impaired lake segment of Lake Champlain. So we're having recurrent cyanobacteria issues. Well, they were actually pretty severe last summer and last fall. The average concentration is well over the 25 micrograms per liter criteria. And the actual to meet the 25 microgram phosphorus per liter criteria, the EPA's the TMDL have been revised in 2016, and for Quebec, actually, to prevent cyanobacteria blooms, we're looking at the 32 tons of phosphorus getting to the Missisquoi Bay from our three main streams, namely the Pike River, Missisquoi River, and Rock River. So, and this is based actually the reduction then accounts for 55% reduction of the 72 tons allocation base loads from 2001 2010. So that's a lot of phosphorus, and it's to keep in fields and upstreams, and it's a big challenge. So if we're looking now at the phosphorus loading by land use, well, if this is coming from the Lake Champlain Basin Program, State of the Lake, I think that was a 2012 though report, but it was interesting to see that well, actually the agricultural sector for Quebec contribute to 58% of the loadings, and it is also estimated that stream bank degradation would account for, well, roughly 25% of the phosphorus loadings. So really, the agricultural sector is our prime target. So, and now if we look at the land use within Missisquoi Bay watershed, well, in fact, 29% of the overall watershed is occupied by agriculture, 59% by forest. And but actually, as you can see, there's a strong spatial gradient in land use, as the agricultural land use dominates within Rock and Pike River in the downstream section close to Missisquoi Bay, while upstream Missisquoi and some section of Pike River are mostly forested. So, and when we look at the the dominant land use in this agricultural sector, well, of course, grain corn and hay comes with 8 and 6.5% of the watershed area. So it's and having soybean as well, which is pretty much important. So, and looking at downstream section, it's mainly, you know, soybean and grain corn country. Okay, so nothing's gained, nothing's lost. So to understand export, we should know what's coming in the watershed actually. So in fact, if we look at the that's pretty precise data on that from the Ministry of Environment from Quebec. So globally, we're looking at the total applications of phosphorus of over 1,600 tons of phosphorus per year. Actually, 71% of it is organic, so predominantly manure, and actually mainly comes from pork industry, hog, to 41%, dairy cattle 33%, poultry 14%, and beef 11%. Okay, so and actually it accounts for 71% of the organic P. 71% of the total inputs, as we still have some important mineral inputs, which reach about 29% of the total. Okay, P apply. Actually, around 475 tons of mineral phosphorus applied annually. So now, what's coming out of the watershed? Okay, so so we had that important gradient in land use. So we have such an important gradient in land and in water quality from downstream Pike and then Rock River versus upstream Missisquoi River. Okay, so and actually, if we look at the phosphorus loading from the Missisquoi Bay sub-watershed, actually the Environment Department in Quebec is coordinating monitoring on 11 sub-watersheds since the 1999. So this is the average 1999 to 2017 loadings, annual loadings from those 11 stations, which are well demonstrate again a pretty clear gradient, especially looking at those downstreams sub-watersheds from Pike River, including Wallridge, Morpion, Pike downstream, Ewing, Castor, and also from the Rock River watershed. So there's a strong gradient in fluxes, in phosphorus fluxes, and of course reflecting the land use gradient. So now looking more closely at the special distribution of phosphorus emissions, we'll see there's a very strong spatial discrimination as well within the agricultural land. So this is some real results from SWOT modeling of phosphorus emissions for the Pike River watershed, where we could see that was well dated from over 15 years ago, but it was a strong gradient at that time on the phosphorus emissions, where we'll figure that 10% of the crop area contributed to 50% of P loadings. So a strong discrimination out there. And some figures from land use perspective. So we would see that on the average, you know, the total P will reach about 0.74 kilograms per hectare. This is strictly on the on the average, but we see like corn acreage, dominantly grain corn in Quebec, 2.48 kilograms per hectare, and we get the second place, the soybean, over a kilo phosphorus export per hectare. So these are averaged by land use, but again, there's a strong variability out there. Okay. So now let's have a closer look on the transfer pathways. Okay, so we know, of course, looking at the overall watershed and stream systems. So we have that, of course, that surface runoff. We know, and that contributes to, well, this most significant part of phosphorus transfer. And it's related also to, of course, the erosion processes. Okay, but that may account for the surface runoff may account maybe for 10% of the annual, flow to the streams. Most of the water will go down, so we'll go in our area in Quebec. So we have about 70% of farmland in downstream part of Watershed, which is subsurface drains. So we have a lot of water going down to those tile drains, some through slow matricial flow and some more important in terms of peat transfer through rapid preferential flow through macropores. Okay, and another pathways is, of course, the resurgence of non-unconfined aquifer, or shallow groundwater that reaches the stream banks. So that sum up the major pathways. Okay, I'll focus on the Ewing watershed, which is the most studied catchment within the Pike River watershed. It is, representative of the intensive cropping systems of the Missisquoi Bay watershed, the downstream part. So, well, dominantly in corn and soybean rotation with, well, pretty, important manure inputs. So it's a 30 kilometers square, and it's cultivated 92% of its area, and dominantly tile grain as well. Okay, so one of the, I would say, the important study, we've been investigating the peat transfer based on monitoring of 10 fields, including the surface, drainage from ditches, and also from the tile drain collectors, or the subsurface drainage. So we wanted to partition the peat loadings according to the hydrologic, the surface and subsurface pathways. And we also wanted to study the effect of the transfer pathways on the phosphorus speciation, the type of phosphorus will be recovering from surface and subsurface flows, and upscale those loadings from field data from those 10 sites at the outlet scale, where we also have continuous monitoring. Okay, so we'll see how we work it out, but the idea also was to develop a new macropore flow algorithm for the SWAT hydrologic model. So it's a tool that we've been using for quite some time now. But it was missing, that important transfer of phosphorus to the tile drains. So an example here of you see here the location of those the 10 field sites, and typically we took profit of LiDAR and imagery we had, and to really locate our equipment for monitoring tile drains and the surface ditch, make sure we have a good, coherence, good coverage. Some view here. So we typically in the Indies area, there's been a lot of hick and bottom. So if you want to catch inlets that have been installed in fields, so that simplified the surface runoff sample. For the subsurface drain, since the water level rise quite a bit in the spring, so we manage access to the drain collector. Okay, so we can pump water directly from the that's it, tile drain collector, okay, since typically the outlet is submerged in high flow period. So that worked fine. So these are average peak concentration and phosphorus type we've been looking at in drainage water and surface runoff of the field sites. So basically, you have those sandy soils and corn and clay in corn and clay in hay. Looking at subsurface drain and surface runoff, and we were quite surprised to see pretty high actually phosphorus concentration in subsurface drain, especially in clay soils under hay. And while the surface runoff, of course, we expected it to be fairly elevated as well. So typically for subsurface runoff, we had a dominant contribution of particulate P on corn land, whatever sand and soil, and on clay, less erosion, of course, but a dominant soluble reactive P component. But in the subsurface drains, a lot of phosphorus actually was observed. So there was an indication of preferential transport and or opinion. And another interesting feature, we've been looking at the particle size distribution of of those sediments we had in tile drains and surface runoff, and looking also at the phosphorus speciation out there. And it was pretty surprising to see you have all those field sites. You have those actually per volume, the diameter of the fines in surface and tile drains, but we didn't see a significant difference in those distribution. Typically, we will be having like colloidal, very fine 1 micron size, very fine sediments in there, and another peak at around 5 microns. So, but that was the same one in surface runoff as we've been observing into the tile drains. And second thing with be looking at it was actually we've been using the electrical conductivity as a tracer of the flow pathway. So if we look at just strictly at those tile water, and we have those clay corn and clay on grasslands, this is showing the electrical conductivity, and with respect to total phosphorus concentration, that we've been observing in instantaneous samples. And we were actually, there was a very strong relationship, meaning that when the electrical conductivity goes down, okay, we have more surface water. The total P is more important, but the phosphorus, the particulate phosphorus, percent of total P increase. So if you look at this situation here, for example, where you have very low electrical conductivity, we're having a signal very close to the surface, but we're under tile drains, and actually the concentration will reduce as we're conceptually or more into matrix slow flow. So pretty straightforward mechanic out here.
Excuse me, Aubert.
Yeah,
We have
sure.
a question in the chat
Mhm.
from Ben Gabos. He's with the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, asking about is drainage in the Hickenbottoms considered surface runoff in these studies? I.e., they often connect to tile or subsurface drains. So how is the
Yes.
water that drains
Mhm.
to pipes differentiated?
Yeah, good, very good question. Actually, those Hickenbottoms are installed within the ditch. These are in ditch. Okay, there's at least over 600 of them that have been installed through the establishment of buffers, along stream stream corridors. The idea here is to use those ditches as catch basin and promote sedimentation. Okay, so typically this is strictly surface runoff that comes in the air from the field going through the ditch, and this is where we could be collect the actually, but it's not connected to tile drains. There's each catch inlets as its own actually exit, to the outlet to the water course. Okay.
Thank you.
So, and now I mentioned we've been studying as well the same signal and loadings at the watershed outlets. Okay, remember it's a 30 kilometer square outlet, and you have here typical, example of ray data. So this is, for example, in blue you have the water stage, okay, responding, to snow melt or precipitation. After peak flow, it goes down, and then you see the electrical conductivity signal sharply going down, okay, because it's showing that there's surface water coming in or rapid, water flowing through tile drains, preferential flow, really low in electrical conductivity, and goes back up until the next event. And then you have those sediment concentration, the turbidity signal, which is quite in coherence or in pace with the peak flows and the surface runoff indicator, namely the abrupt change or drop in electrical conductivity. So the idea is to use those signal actually to partition the flows. So you have two systems, if you want, the one at the outlet and the one from the fields, and bridging both actually about mass balance, electrical conductivities. Then we been able to separate the surface runoff and in the tire flow, the rapid preferential flow versus the matrix flow, pretty much slower, and also the groundwater resurgence, okay, coming in. So that's been pretty handy to to picture, where's the water coming from, and I mean in 15 minutes intervals. So summing up those results. So this shows the results from fall and spring, and showing the partitioning of water. So again, surface runoffs about 10 to 11% of the overall flow. So we have still a lot of groundwater resurgence coming in, like from 40 to 50%. And with respect to tire flow, well, it's this, we figure out there's a significant part of it which is associated to macropore flow, if you want, rapid preferential flow, in the order of 21% of the flow, discharge in the fall, and about 15% in the spring. And now we allocated the phosphorus, the total phosphorus and dissolved reactive P. It's associated to those transfer. And this is, the global results. So looking again, surface runoff, remember 10% of the water yield, but from 58 to 65% of total P, and significant contribution of total P emissions, from those rapid flow, preferential flow in those tile drains. But if we look at dissolved reactive P, well, we get a more important, significant contribution of those tile drain systems, up to 37% in the fall, 29% in the spring. And you would see that that's, well, we call it stream bed. This is the phosphorus that we cannot account, you know, from the field sites with respect when as compared to the monitoring outlet. So typically, for example, for total P in the spring here, so we had some contribution, you know, from the stream corridors up to 21% in particulate P, and the opposite, you know, in dissolved reactive P, that would mean there's some absorption, you know, and internal, if you want, some kind of a internal loading development. So it's been pretty well described, I believe. Okay. Some other studies evolved from the development of that approach. Like here, a study by a graduate student Humier, who she's been actually applying it to I believe about 20 watersheds, and we've been looking in over the years. But these are results again for Ewing watershed. This is results from 2008 to 2012, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the average partition, you know, we're talking of 30% of rapid flow. That means that includes the surface runoff, and that's conceptually again, but a preferential rapid transfer, you know, from tiles. And you see here the average seasonal distribution. And of course, March and April with its snow melt and frozen soils or saturated soils or peak emissions. And again, and back into here, in light blue, which are the rapid surface and permeation flow, with actually transfer most of the phosphorus systems. And just a quick pictures on the illustration of the adaptation of the algorithms for the SWOT model. It's been derived by David Poon, so that's available online. But just to illustrate here the principles, so you having actually an infiltration capacity that just, you know, drives the separate, you know, the when we over the infiltration capacity of the matrix flow, we get into the soil macropores, and then you have a lateral infiltration that depends on macropore connectivity. So if you want to get access, you know, to the SWOT code or more details, that's online in the Frontiers in Water. Okay, so we have a good cue on those transfers, surface, subsurface, and just be sharing a quick information on the actually cesium inventories that we've been doing in this watershed as well. So basically, cesium is a tracer of erosion rates. Okay, so we've been actually looking at the actual, you know, the cesium gives you the average, if you want, erosion rates over the past 5 or even 6 centuries now. So we observed quite a very important variability in net soil loss rates. Okay, varying up to from very very low to up to 30 ton per hectare per year. That's on average, and we could see that again, it's not all the field surfaces that contribute to erosions. You have soil deposition as well. So, for example, our most impaired site by erosion, 75% of the area will contribute, okay, to erosion, and 7% to deposition. So that was interesting to see that, again, special discrimination within field. But that here are actually where we've been looking at the isotope content of the sediment from the tile rains and from the surface runoff compared to the cesium content of the plow layer. Okay, and for example, here you would see on those on those sides that were was pretty interesting to see here. The one here is AP, is the plow layer. A is the surface runoff, and D, the drain water. Okay, but you would see like at least one sandy sites and one clay site, pretty elevated cesium signal of the sediment, but comes out from the tile. So there was a strong indication again of a significant preferential transfer of particulate phosphorus. Okay, so that's about the, I would say, that the global picture on the process. So I'll drive through the Missisquoi Bay action plan that we has been prepared by OBBBM to back up the agreement on the meeting of the P criteria within the Missisquoi Bay. Okay, so basically, well, what can we do about it? So the action plan is actually targets 55 reductions in P loadings. As you see, we're looking and counting on the synergy of source and phosphorus transport control. We are also promoting efficient, best management practices, but that can present as well benefits on farms. And also they're designed to be applied on a whole farm approach and a stream by stream approach, especially when we are considering, municipal drain maintenance projects. So actually 5 initiatives. The first one, reduce phosphorus under saturation levels, cover cropping, and improve soil physical condition, spread and incorporate manure without compacting the soil, and supporting innovation in stream and riparian zone development. So we'll be looking at those one by one. First initiative, to reduce the P content of rich soil. Okay, justification for it. Of course, there's a strong relationship between P inputs and soil P saturation buildup. This has been well established by agronomic research in Quebec. You see here some reports of dissolved reactive P from runoff plots and field studies in Quebec. Okay, and also we know that soil phosphorus saturation is a determinant driver of surface runoff. Okay, so in terms of priority action, the first one is really to support the update of nutrient management plans to reduce soil saturation to 7.6%. Actually, we have about 1/3 of our cropland which has saturation ratio over 7.6. But here's some very interesting information that came out for a compilation of over 300 phosphorus trials on corn. Okay, that's all in Quebec, all types of soil, dominantly mineral and mineral fertilization, and over 140 sites with farm manures and minerals. So actually, no response when where farm manure is applied systematically. Sorry, and fertilization should be avoided to maintain or increase soil content where we are over this 5% saturation. So no crop response in corn over 5% saturation phosphorus. So these results are consistent with Nebraska and Iowa, where actually the threshold or the response, threshold was estimated 1.7 or 4.4 phosphorus saturation. So typically the implement of these recommendations would result in a reduction of at least 35% in the consumption of phosphate fertilizer as a whole in the watershed. So that's a pretty interesting story. And also we have agronomic studies like these study here in St. Hyacinthe area, 8-year study, corn, soybean, wheat, that it shows that we can obtain a fairly rapid decline in soil P saturation resulting from a balanced P mass input. So figure out 10 years horizon feasibility, to raise down those land acres with saturated phosphorus levels. Another aspect which is important is since most of P comes from manure, remember, over 70%, typically when we fertilize for nitrogen needs, we necessarily end up with P inputs over crop needs. So it's interesting to reduce the P content of manure to be applied on those P-rich soils. So actually, there's maybe two opportunities that we could benefit. Actually, there's development of biomethane plants in Quebec, even in the watershed. There's from Nature Energy, especially in Farnham now, it's under construction. So we are promoting the phase separation of those digestate and granulation, to export, actually to extract the phosphorus, having up to 80-90% of the phosphorus, which is its solid phase. So phase separation could be a good opportunity to export excess P. And also validated in Quebec, we can use the on-farm V scrapers, okay, to actually separate at the farm the solid phase, okay, again to be valued, on less rich soil. So and then actually this initiative has been documented with very interesting benefits in terms of, well, yes, phosphorus separation, but also air quality and emissions of CH4 and methane, carbon dioxide, and NH3 ammonia. So it's pretty good opportunity. Okay, another way to reduce the P content of rich soils is, well, to support plant source of nitrogen. Okay, these are showing some results we had, well, close to the watershed, actually in Saint Bruno area in our station, and that, well, it shows up, okay, that we with actually underseeding, with on small grain clovers in intercrop, okay, that means that well, an equivalent in nitrogen fertilizer value of over 100 kilos N, okay. So that means introducing intercrop legumes and with small grains, we could reduce the phosphorus input by 2/3 on the following. So it's on the following corn production. So that's again, it's documented and available online, but very interesting opportunity. Again, a win-win situation for the farmers and in the community. Okay, initiative number 2. Okay, covers soils after harvest and improve their physical conditions. So, well, the justification, stands for itself. So surface runoff and erosion are the main drivers of total P transfer. And also compact soils are emitting more surface runoff and particulate P. Okay, referring to those results shared earlier on the E-wing. Okay, so surface runoff is a good driver. So one of the priority actions we again promoting is to introduce, support and develop the small grain production sector. We have a lot of corn and soya. That means that leaves not much space, to good cover crop implementation. And we're also spreading manure early in spring or late in fall, compact soil. So there's a very interesting benefits, for to introducing the small grains for efficient cover crop protection. Here an example here again, modeling studies from grain corn till to wheat and cover crops, while showing briefly a reduction from 1 to 0.2 phosphorus export at the resulting from the underseeded wheat. Okay. And the hay production sector is another priority action. We've been losing a lot of hay in the past decades. So, and we know it's optimal for erosion control efficiencies. And we've looking, especially promoting hay on vulnerable lands, including floodplains and stream mobility corridors and steep terrains. Again, a modeling study here on the Rock River watershed. Okay, you see, for example, now the specific piloting. So the hay actually is estimated to to yield about 0.6 kilos phosphorus a year. While with corn, we're more to the over 3 kilos and up to 2 kilos in soybeans. Okay, so stand by itself, very efficient reductions in on phosphorus emissions when they get some more hay in the picture, especially on critical acres. Okay, another priority action, of course, support residue cropping. We still have many fields in the region that are tilled in the fall. I mean, we're talking of corn and soybean. So we are targeting, to no fall tillage for annual crops. So that could mean spring tillage or no tillage. Again, 39% of annual crops are fall-tilled in Missisquoi Basin. That's our current estimation. And actually, that save money to farmers. We estimate the cost reduction of around $40 to $76 per hectare. And when you look at the phosphorus that we can, the phosphorus emission we can save, well, actually, for every kilos of phosphorus, okay, this is a negative if you want a ratio. So the farmer save $60. Okay, so that's a good story. The same again objective here, okay, to cover the soil after harvest, promoting cover cropping. So we are suggesting to keep cost sharing the purchase of seed and support the adaptation and acquisition of specialized equipment. We figured out that the average cost was about 149 per hectare, okay, because you have maybe more benefits from the small grain production. So looking at the cost efficiency, that means the cost of $155 for every kilograms of phosphorus that we were abating. A third initiative, again, we have a lot of manure going around, I mentioned. And so the spreading and incorporating of farm fertilizer without compacting soil is priority actions for us. So first, support the adaptation and acquisition of spreading equipment without tank circulation in the fields and allowing incorporation. We're really looking at those two benefits. So typically, that would mean support the adaptation and acquisition of spreading or tilling equipment adapted to the incorporation of farm manure in post-emergence or preceding under cover of residues, okay? And also support the adaptation of tank-free field spraying equipment and consider also the eligibility of contract workers. Okay, and initiative number 4. Well, it really relates to the protection of flood-prone areas and the mobilities of waterways. I know you've been doing a lot of efforts in Vermont and in those areas, and it's been very inspiring for us. So, well, we recommend really to disseminate the hydrogeomorphologic tools, okay, to the managers, to the the stream managers in the area, ready to clearly identify where are those floods and mobility corridors, and develop financial levels and governance approach to protect them. Okay, here's again in that cost efficiency study within the Rock River. Okay, we had work here by Madame Biron from Concordia that established, the corridor there, and we've been looking again at cost perspective on this one. Okay, that's the figure here. Actually, 58 hectares, critical hectares that could be protected. So that would mean annual net revenues loss. So loss of revenues of around 35,000 a year. So to be well, typically cost share, or that's the actual loss in revenue that represent that 58 hectares of critical acres on those corridors. Okay. So in terms of priority actions, so support the well-integrated development of well, and when we are having those municipal drain maintenance project, there's a lot of them. It comes recurrently. So we suggest that we consider this well, yes, of course, together with the stream, but the bank, the ditch and field surface drainage development. And also, you have an example here, for example, that was the, well, some of you may remember Richard Lausier from MAPAC, but that was a farmers co-op that they've been establishing 80 kilometers of buffer strips and actually switchgrass together with systematic, again, we see those sedimentation basins and catch and less, systematically, having continuous access to those riparian zones for management. So that worked pretty nicely. That's an example. That's the farmer decided to go for this one. But another example, not in this watershed, but another area where farmers more promoted trees or shrubs like noyer, rosé. I should know that in English anyway. But that's every maintenance project is an opportunity to discuss with farmers. Okay, we have the bulldozers, we have the capacity, we have everyone together. So that's a pretty good timing to plan those riparian buffers and those ditch confluences and those also tile drain connectors protection at the same time. So that's initiative that OBVBM has been involved in quite some years now. Okay, so I'll conclude on this one. So maybe two important questions. Well, the cumulative efficiencies of all those alternate management and their cost, because that's always have to come down to those cost efficiency scenarios. So if we, okay, I know there's a lot of numbers out there, but this is putting all together those alternate management scenarios that we've been looking at for the Rock River, okay, including those stream buffer development, well, typical like you've seen just previously, land conversion for stream corridors, critical A, erodible, or critical annual crops, erodible, the conversion to spring or no-till tillage, cover cropping, and manure injection. So if you accumulate, yes, if you're having the percent reduction at watershed level, okay, so we on paper reach 40% reduction in phosphorus emissions, okay, total load for total load reduction of 1,500 kilos, okay. So that present actually on paper again, it's a cost of overall $276 per kilograms of phosphorus, and an average cost of $200 per hectare. Okay, but we're talking globally. or an estimate of $421,000, again, Canadian, over 2,000 hectares treated. So, and in terms of actually the specific cost, which one has the best cost efficiencies, but no wonder. Conservation tillage, okay, actually has a, well, as I mentioned, a negative ratio. That means it pays off. That's it. Then cover cropping. Cover cropping was cropping about 155, okay, per kilograms of phosphorus abatement. Those land conversion can be, well, quite costly for hay, 5 to 30, 127 here per hectare. And the manure injection that, well, it came out pretty expensive, over 600 hectare. So, okay, I don't know how I'm doing in time. Wow, 1 o'clock. Well, I've been showing a lot of information. I hope you haven't have too much of an effect on your digestion if you're having lunch. But well, so with that said, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. I see we already have hands up and questions. I see Neil came in from ANR, Agency of Natural Resources, asked 420 CDN to reduce 1.5 metric tons phosphorus is a good deal. I guess it's a comment. Thumbs up from Neil.
All right,
Marley,
maybe Neil.
Marley, you want to go next?
Sure, Aubert, as always, so much here and not enough time to discuss it. I have two questions, and if you don't have time for both, pick whichever one you want. The first question is, how in your watersheds do you folks provide technical assistance? Is that funded by the farmers? Is there governmental support for that? And how much is out there? But the second question is completely different. I didn't see any recommendations related to end of tile treatments or tile drain management, and didn't know if you had any thoughts on that. So pick one or both.
Okay, a quick one regarding extension. Extension is done most exclusively by actually non-profit organization. Okay, with agronomists, they call it extension club, if you want, or environmental clubs. Okay, they are providing the mandatory nutrient management plan to farmers. Every farmer has yearly nutrient management plan, and also other services. Okay, so they are the principal one. Our organization, so we work together with them, and together with farmers representative from the UPA, which are member of our boards. We have consultation tables, and but typically we are not directly involved with extension with farmers at the OBVBN, but we team up with extension clubs, for doing so, and together also with when it comes down to maintenance projects on ditches, like community projects, we team up with the regional authorities. Tile drains, actually, we had several cycles of projects when I can share that with you, and time to have that, but we had the hypothesis that if we do controlled drainage, okay, so it means slow down the drain, the tide flow. I mean, maintaining, there's floaters you can install. It's just you just transform your your tile outlet, okay, to have a control on the elevation of the critical elevation at which you're gonna get those tile flow. But it's tricky because you don't want to exacerbate surface runoff. So we had a few projects on farm projects monitoring those, and results have been I would say deceiving, because the problem we have, we dug all those water courses all around 30,000 kilometers of water course in Quebec been dug, and to accommodate. So the actually the water stage, I mean, is is very low, very in the spring. So there's no more, you know, water to retain within the systems. It all goes through a resurgence. So there's a problem with efficiencies. And if we but we still know that if we just close the system and we exacerbate surface runoff, that's going to be worse. So the global, we still believe that there's a global benefit from a subsurface drainage system, but we didn't have figured out now how to optimize it, so to reduce those preferential flows. So, but control drainage has very limited, and it's in English actually. I'll share some reference with Ali that you can spread out, but and we've same thing. We've been teaming up with Ontario on these issues on field and subwatershed and monitoring studies, modeling studies. Yeah.
Yes, I'd welcome any further information. Thank you.
Mhm.
Were there other questions, Ali? Because if not, I got another.
I'm not seeing any at this point. Go for it.
Okay. Aubert, can you explain what a V-scraper is?
Yeah, that's actually there's information, but that's in French, but it's under the how do you call that? You know, if you have a hog, you know, exploitation, okay, under the floor, okay, you are collecting, you know, the fishes and liquids, and it's just a scraper, you know, that goes along with its travel, and it's just gonna scrape the the solid on the sides, leaving the liquid going down. It's just physical, just separation. It's and that's been tested in actual hog operation. It works fine. And if you go in Brittany, like in France, I mean, it's they're doing that quite systematically, you know, on some in the cooperative systems and out there, because they are, I mean, submerged by manure and phosphorus as well out there. But that's efficient. But the problem after that, I mean, is you have to manage. You know, so you have a semi-liquid, you know, paste. So it has to be granulated, you know, actually dried and granulated. And IRDA, actually, Stéphane Godbout has been working on that. Okay, and they have developed processes, and it's all, I would say, functional and validated, but always a question, you know, of cost of implementation, you know, and that's why. And then we had those nature energy coming in the watershed with those big project, and we've been we're really pushing them hard, you know, to now they are they say that they will do some solid phase separation, and to me that's a key point, especially that we have more and more biological grain producers which would have very high P levels, because they keep putting manure for nitrogen, and soil phosphorus builds up. So I think that could be interesting for them, but so that's it. But that mean trucks, I mean hauling manure around, and but I think if we go for those biomethane, at least we should have those separation facilities. That's a
So
good
that
opportunity.
V-scraper is actually what I thought it was, and it is just a physical thing, but I couldn't figure out how you were getting to a 77% phosphorus separation. But I see what you're saying. It's separating the solids from the liquid, which had
That's
never
it.
occurred to me. It's
That's
something
it.
as simple as that.
Simple as that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, there's a follow-up question about the V scraper in the chat. So the P and the CH preferentially absorbs the gutter walls, and the V scraper removes that, leaving the overlying liquid manure.
Okay, I should access. Maybe I'll close my
Yeah, I think you'll be able to see. There's also questions about where the solids go.
yeah, okay. Okay, where the solids go? When they're just collected separately. That's it. That's it. Oh yes, it's separate. So you have the liquid from one part that is it's pretty low in phosphorus that you can use on those pH soils, and then that's it. It allows, you know, a differentiated management for the liquid and solid part.
And are they land applied? That was another part of that question.
Oh, okay, good. I'm sorry. And
are they land applied? Are they put on the land?
Yeah, sure. But the interesting aspects is for the liquid, the solid, the granulation process. That means that you can replace mineral fertilizer. Okay, you've seen we're still having, well, too much mineral phosphorus fertilizer applied. But if you replace those mineral fertilizer by actually organic, you know, or local, you know, pelletized manure, you reduce the total mass input of phosphorus. So that's interesting. So that's totally feasible. But once you have to go from that semi-solid state, dry and granulation stage to to value you know, the as it well, right in your corn planter.
And another part of that question was asking about, is it exported and applied onto lower phosphorus lands?
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a quick cut.
The second part of that question was, if they're, do they ever take any of that liquid and solid and export it and apply it on a land that has lower phosphorus levels?
Okay, I see I was looking for the question here. So where the solids go, the land apply as well, can be exported, then trucked to low P farmland. Yes, that's the idea. Actually, if we separate it and we keep the phosphorus within the watershed, it's up in the watershed, there's no gain. So the idea, if we can, well, dry it, granulate it, and export it, it has a high value, because we know in the worldwide, I mean, phosphorus stocks are going down, you know. So it's well, we have to do a quick good look at the economics of it, but the value of its granulated, you know, material is would be high enough, you know, to be commercialized outside the watershed. That.
Thank you. And there was another question on an unrelated topic further up that asks, are there any required perennial vegetative buffer setbacks on annual cropland to streams and ditches? And I can copy and paste it so it's further down.
Okay, I don't see it. Okay.
There we go.
Are there any required perennial vegetable setbacks on annual cropland to streams? Are there any required perennial vegetable? What do you mean by setbacks? You mean regulations or financial incentives or? Okay, actually, the setbacks is 3 meters, okay, above high water level and 1 meter minimum. Okay, that's for provincial. But within the watershed, actually, the farmers agree for 2 meter minimum, okay, without financial incentive. So now it's that's it. So by regulation, it's 1 meter, you know, at the from the ditch, or 3 meter above the high water stage. But in the watershed now, it's 2 meters on so on. But as you've seen, so some pictures with we had those 10-meter buffers installed voluntarily by farmers, 80 kilometers of it. That was pretty neat. But that was cost share for 2 years. That was a pilot project, and that was abandoned. Too bad. But significant part of farmers maintain those. But that's it. I think we need, well, typically we need three things. I mean, three support. I mean, to organize here and to be coherent. I mean, the technical support, the financial support, and regulatory support. I mean, if those three goes together, we're in business. But I mean, we have to plan ahead for those three levels of support, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions. Marley, did you have a burning question?
No, I'm all set. We should probably let folks go because we have gone over time, but
Okay.
Aubert, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
I
thank you
appreciate that.
so much.
All right.
We both, Aubert, if you have any documents or links you want to share, I can also include those as we pass that along, and sending a friendly reminder to folks to complete the quick little 1-minute survey that was in the chat. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, I'll send you that by just like reference listings with the web links. All right.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Good. Bye, everybody. See you in Vermont.
Bye-bye.
No.